uncovering the interconnectedness of our emotions, mind, body, and spirit. This podcast is dedicated to individuals who are on a quest to uncover their truth, understanding their genetic and spiritual DNA, and learning how to harness this knowledge to achieve optimal health. But this isn't just another health podcast. Natural Podcast is here to ignite a spark of hope within you, reminding you of your innate potential for greatness, your pure love capable of living life to its fullest expression. Are you ready to embark on a transformational journey to achieve optimal health? In today's episode, we have Desiree Taylor. When Desiree Taylor found herself suffering from severe chronic fatigue syndrome and adrenal burnout in 2011 at the age of just 26, she embarked on a personal journey to heal herself, body, mind, and spirit. Up until that point, her days have been filled with her high-pressure corporate career, playing hockey at state level, and partying on the weekends. With her demanding schedule, she used alcohol in the way that most of us do or did to celebrate and let off steam, to relax, unwind, and soothe her anxiety. Until the day that her body screamed enough and completely shut down. Desiree couldn't get out of bed for 6 months. When she finally did, she set about completely transforming her lifestyle, now glowing the happiest she's ever been. Desiree helps to empower other women to transform their relationship with health and, most importantly, with themselves. Welcome to the Natural Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so thrilled to be here.
I'm so excited to have you back. I know we've had another podcast interview that we did previously, but I'm so excited to have you back because I know that your journey has changed. I know you've evolved. So much has happened over the last few years. So I'm so excited for you to share your journey.
Has it ever, honestly? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go with this conversation, but let's do it.
I know. Look, the topic is from PTSD to empowerment, navigating your journey with energy healing and Akashic records. So I'm interested, we're going to go deep into all the nitty gritty, but before we get into that, what has been happening, girl?
Oh my goodness. Okay, what has been happening? I think when we last spoke, I got to a point, so I was so heavily focused on my healing journey. So look, long story condensed to as short as I can make it. I was partying like a rock star, playing hockey for the New South Wales women's team, working my ass off, got very, very sick with chronic fatigue, was pretty much in bed for 8 months, different hospital stays. And then I had to embark, as so many of us do, on a journey to help heal myself. And that included healing my gut, changing my diet, changing my belief systems, balancing my hormones, through supplementation, quitting my job. It was a complete upheaval of life. And then when I started to heal and found myself thriving, I was like, holy shit, the world needs to know about this. And it was a natural progression that I opened up a business. I helped coach other women to help empower themselves to make good food choices, do gut healing, help balance their hormones, work on their emotional eating patterns, which are a huge connection to our food. And I was speaking at festivals and events, and that had resonated with me for so long, probably about 8 or 9 years I did that, and was very content and very happy. But then I came to this point in my journey where it really wasn't resonating with me much, and I'll tell you the turning point. So this probably would have been in 2022. So after all the stuff that we don't want to talk about, the seed stuff.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. Well, that's the juicy stuff. God, we could do a whole podcast on that. But
did that allow you to reflect upon everything? You were just
it really did. Yeah. And what was really interesting was, I think, how much can I say on here without the censorship? Like, can I talk freely? Do I need to use an alternative word? Or
let's use an alternative word, because my podcast has been censored.
It has been censored. That's why I wanted to ask you. I'm just going to use...
We could talk about it, but we'll just use a word.
We'll just use a word. I'm just going to use the V word or something like that, right?
Done.
I'm just going to say
Amazing.
the V. And so what happened, I think, with the amount of stress and feeling pressure that went on that time, where I really, I lost friends over not taking the V. There was pressures that my husband was going to lose his job. It was,
I remember that. That was hectic that time.
It was hectic, like really hectic. And
I remember that, yes, because we caught up in Sydney that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were both like, what the hell is going on?
What is happening? Where are we? Are we aliens? We felt like
pretty
weirdos.
Much, I felt so. And long story short, I didn't take it, which was an absolute blessing. I mean, there was no way I was going to do it anyways. But I think because as a collective, the type of energy that I was feeling from everyone, and I'd go to the shops and I'd be yelled at, and, the friendships were toxic, and it was just toxic from all ends. I actually got run down and got sick probably about 3 or 4 times that year. And it wasn't, bad sick,
Yeah,
but for
wow.
me, that was really unusual, right? And my diet
Yeah.
hadn't changed, my supplements hadn't changed. So, from a physical perspective, I was still doing all the same things and eating really clean and nourishing my body. But what I found was I wasn't able to heal as fast because of my thoughts and emotions and headspace and the toxicity and stress that was around me. And the catalyst to all of that, what I found was it was, again, a blessing in disguise because I actually popped on one night. I popped on a Joe Dispenza meditation because I'm like, I don't know, nothing is helping me. I'm doing my bloody supplements. I'm taking all my herbs. I'm eating a clean diet. I'm getting my sleep. Like, far out. What am I missing, universe? And so I popped on an energy healing meditation by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is world renowned. I encourage you to look him up, for those of you who are not familiar with him. And it was a healing the energy center meditation. It went for about 45 minutes, but I did it. And I woke up the next
I like
morning.
how you said I did it.
I
Did
did
you?
it.
Were you kind of like, oh, that's a really long
That is a
meditation? Where you're
really
like,
long
oh, I'm happy to do
meditation.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, I did it. I achieved it.
I achieved, well, that was it. The extent of my meditation wasn't as deep as that. It was still
Yeah,
quite at a
yeah.
superficial level. And I went through it, and I kid you not, Michaela, if I didn't, go through it myself, I wouldn't have even believed it. I woke up the next morning, I was fine. And throughout the rest of that,
No.
absolutely fine. Like cough gone, nose, uh, snotty nose gone, all of that gone. And I thought, holy hell. And then, of course, as we do, I started going down this rabbit hole. Now, I had done some
I
sort of
like how you
energy
include
heal.
me in this conversation as we do. As we do. Yes, as we do. Yep, normal. Yep.
As us curious students of life do, we head down the rabbit holes. And I had dabbed in energy healing before, where I've had some really good energy healers help me along the journey. But over the course of the 10 years, maybe like 2 or 3 times, like nothing
Yeah.
concrete. And I wasn't incorporating it into my daily routine at all. Um, and so I started working with a couple of practitioners on this journey of doing some energy healing sessions. And I found, that as I started to embark on this journey, I had a lot of unresolved stuff, even though I thought I was the healthiest person in the world.
You're like,
I
where did this
had
come from?
literally, it was, where did this come from? Okay, maybe this is the next layer, I think. This is the time and this is the
Yeah,
catalyst for me to
shit.
embark on this next journey. And the main thing that came up through that, I'm trying to summarize it now because the journey's so long, but the main thing that kind of came up around that was I realized that even though I'd gone through, healing myself and felt great, once I scratched through the surface and the layers, I actually had massive PTSD and trauma from being sick for so long. I mean, there was probably about a year where every night I thought I was going to die. Like, I literally thought
Wow.
I was going to die. I used to say goodbye to my husband when I went to sleep. Um, it was severe. Like, I used to get full blown panicked attacks, and I hadn't really dealt with that level of severity and trauma. And it was coming up now because I had been sick 4 times in a year, and each time I had been sick, the symptoms weren't that bad, but my unconscious mind or whatever was still trapped in there, which was driving this form of PTSD and trauma, was triggering me to have more of a physical response that was actually necessary, for, to actually more than what I was actually going through. I was making it out as if my mind straight away went to fear of death. So I'd have a cough,
Yeah.
fear of death, I'm going to die, I'm going to go back into hospital. Or it was
And
like,
can we just touch upon that? Is that okay for
go
a
for
second?
it, please.
So you're saying you had PTSD from being sick, and now you're saying you got this fear of death. When did that PTSD kick in? Was it because of you being so sick for a period of time, and that you thought it was going to come back, and your brain made this connection?
Absolutely. Spot on. So, I had this understanding where, maybe PTSD, I didn't really know much about it, or any type of trauma. It
Yeah.
had to be something like drastic, like maybe domestic violence or abuse, or, a war overseas or something like that. My idea was quite, catastrophic of what it was. But what I didn't realize is that me being so severely sick for so long, literally thinking I was going to die for months, that is a massive trauma. That is a form of
Yeah.
PTSD. And I had not dealt with that, or it wasn't time to deal with that, I think, because I had to survive to get better and go into that mode. And it was resurfacing now because I think the timing was right. So I would get a cold or a cough, and automatically my mind would go back to um, just a very fearful state, a very
Yeah,
fearful
wow.
stress response, fight or flight. You're going to go back in hospital. Am I going to die? What does this mean? What's happening? It wasn't just, I've got a cold, or shit, I need a rest for a bit, which is a normal
Yeah, that's
response.
huge.
Yeah, it was
That's huge. And I like that you
extreme.
mentioned that. I like that you mentioned PTSD straight away. People think, domestic violence, war, all of these dramatic things, near-death experiences. But having an illness for a period of time can actually cause PTSD and can make our format these pathways in our brain that make us believe that next time something similar occurs, which is what happened to you, we go, oh shit, it's happening again, and all of these emotions, all these feelings come up, and like you said, it's like, am I going to go back to the hospital? Am I going to have to say goodbye to my husband and kids again every night? And it just resurfaces and comes up, where all it is not all, but you're just having a cough, you're having the flu, and Bob down the road might be walking with the cough and flu, and he's all happy and chappy because it's just a flu. But for you, because of your past experience and because of the pathways that have been made in your brain and your body, so the emotions and then the physical connected, it's like, yep, no, PTSD, done.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That is beautifully summarized. That is exactly what happened, and what it is. And it can happen in many different circumstances for kids growing up in childhood, and maybe they've had a traumatic childhood and it's not dealt with until a later stage,
Yeah.
but it starts coming up and being a trigger. But for me, that's how it manifested. And that was a catalyst for, okay, there's more healing that needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, that all happened in 2022. You had the flu and you were like feeling, and then you went on to Joe's Dispenza, and the next day you had the cough was gone. So what was that meditation like? Tell me. What was
Yeah,
that about?
so
Like, I
it's
know it's 45 minutes. That straight away makes me go, ooh, that is a very long time. I've got things to do.
well, it made me think that, because I think it really opened the door that, and at some level, I intuitively knew that this was the direction that I needed to head, was energy healing, and head down that field of, quantum energy healing, and try some different modalities, because it was resonating with me more and more. And I think that was just really just the catalyst. So, um, the meditation and what it was really interesting, because we are all energy, right? We're made up of atoms. Atoms are protons and neutrons. They vibrate at a certain frequency. That's like science 101 that most people ignore. But we are all made up of energy. Everything is made up of energy. And through the different centers of the body, we have different chakra systems, different energy meridians that run. So it's really going through each particular energy system in the body, and clearing whatever needs to be cleared. And this is all done in the mind's eye, while doing the meditation, if that's the type of energy meditation that you're doing. So it's really just going through the body, clearing whatever blockages or energy blocks there are within each particular system. Um, and healing on that. Gosh, I guess the quantum level, the level that we can't see. And because that was the catalyst in terms of I had such profound effects with how I felt, it really did start my journey of working with different healers and working more on this PTSD and some of the trapped emotions and subconscious beliefs that I had stored physically in my body to help release and really transform my mindset around getting sick and sickness and what it meant, and being or having the faith in my body and what the human body can do and how it can heal. So
And I mean, you would have had to have some type of awareness to actually reflect on the fact of being sick and being like, wow, that's PTSD. That would have taken some type of self-awareness to reflect upon that. Not just reflect upon it, but then move and actually action on it. Like you said, you did the meditation, you touched base with some healers. Like, that takes a level of reflection. Like, what allowed you to reflect? Like, how do you think you were able to get to the point to actually reflect?
Yeah, so it was really interesting, actually. So I realized I was having a conversation and doing a session with one of the coaches or one of the healers, and it just this awareness or level of awareness came up as we cleared some things in the body that unconsciously, even though my healing journey for 10, 12 years, I was such a big drinker and I quit alcohol and I demonized it in order to stop and be sober for 12 years. And I also demonized certain foods, or I was, really scared that if I ate a hot chip, I wouldn't feel well, or, I really I realized I wasn't coming from a place of doing things out of pure love for my body. It was doing things out of fear. And over the 10 years, I think that was the biggest awareness for me, is the 10 years I realized that I was treading such a thin line in order to heal and survive. But I'd gotten to the point where I was healed. Like, I was okay. I didn't have a sickness anymore. I didn't have an autoimmune disease. I didn't have any disease, but I was still living my life from that place of fear, where I was so scared that if I had a drink or if I had some food that I shouldn't eat or some sugar, that it would make me sick again. So that was probably the biggest awareness, and that was what came about everything. And then moving forward, I thought, well, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it. 100%. All the smart people swear.
Good. Well, then I'm very smart, Mahela. I'm very smart.
Yeah, you are, Desiree. You are indeed. I know you are, girl.
Oh, God. And then I thought, fuck it.
I was going to say, don't ask for permission to be yourself. Don't ask for permission to be yourself. All right, girl.
We so got to talk more. We definitely do. And then I got to the point where I'm like, well, I said I was doing a session with my healer, and I'm like, fuck it. You know what? Like, I was living so clean for so long, and I still got sick 4 times, and the energy healing was really what was the biggest catalyst and made the biggest difference to me. I said, I'm going to fucking live a little, and I'm going to introduce some, have my cake and eat it too. That's what I want to achieve, where I can introduce things back in. And that was another year-long journey, because I introduced
How did that feel? Can we just go into the moment where you put that food in your, let's take it back a little bit. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to dwell into that. Okay, so you said you were healed, but you didn't come from a place of love. You came from a place of fear.
Yes.
So you felt good, and you were feeling good, and you were healthy. You didn't have disease in your body, but you still were demonizing foods, demonizing activities, foods, drinks that you don't do because you were fearful, the PTSD, of it all coming back. So therefore, it didn't come from a place of love. It came from a place of fear.
Yep.
That is huge, because the audience listening, my clients also, people I know, are exactly at that point right now. They're at that point right now. They're like, yep, I've healed. I don't have the autoimmune disease, but they are still coming from a place of fear. They're still excluding certain things for whatever reason, or scared to include things for whatever reason, because they're scared of everything going backwards. So
Yeah.
it's so key that you mentioned that. So I want to go to the point of now you putting that food or that drink into your body and what that felt like.
Yes. And this was so fascinating. And I love how you said that because that is a huge factor. It was really triggering. And I was so scared to open that remit. But I got to the fuck it point, I call it, where I was just like, whatever. And so when I started eating, let's start with the foods and then the alcohol is a separate thing as well.
Awesome,
So
let's
with
do
the
it.
foods, when I started introducing foods again, I realized there was still number one, it was freaking delicious. So say
Wait,
for
what was it?
example,
What was it? I want to know what it was.
cheese, bloody cheese. Oh,
That dopamine
I
rush
was
that cheese gives us. Oh, girl.
mate, it was like heaven. And I used to be so addicted to cheese. And
Yeah.
anyway, so I ate the cheese. It tasted bloody good. It was so fantastic. I realized, oh, I can digest this now. Maybe because it would probably actually because of all the gut healing work I've done.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
I didn't want to indulge too much. I knew my limits, so it was so empowering. It was fantastic. So the foods I started to introduce, so I would go out, and if my son was having some hot chips, hell yeah, I'd have, you know, a handful of hot chips on the weekend or whatever it is, without wondering about the oil or, you know, going through a checklist in my head about how it's gonna, all the trans fats is gonna, you know, sabotage my health and I'm going to
Yes.
feel terrible. Because what I also found, Mihaela, and this is probably very, very powerful with everything that I do for now, is if I would go into a meal thinking, this is a shit meal, I'm going to feel shit afterwards, it's going to make me feel fatigued, I'm going to feel crap. I guarantee you when I finish that meal, I will feel crap, I will feel fatigued, it will be horrible. If I
A
go
hundred
into that
percent.
meal thinking, and this is where the mindset and you know your energy into what you do comes into play. If I went into that meal thinking, you know what, I'm celebrating with my family, I'm going to indulge in this and I'm so blessed to have this food and I'm going to feel bloody fine afterwards, you know, my body is strong, I would eat it and I would feel fine, completely fine.
Wow, what a
So
difference. What a difference.
complete difference.
And
And
on that
just,
note, I
yeah,
do want to say there's actually a research study that I read like the other week, and it said what they did is they got people who weren't allergic or weren't intolerant to gluten and people who were intolerant to gluten, and they gave them bread and they said the bread had gluten in them, but it didn't have gluten in them, right? So the people that ate it that thought they were eating gluten got sick. They actually got sick, but there was no gluten in the bread. So this goes exactly in line with what you're saying. It's just mind blowing.
it's mind blowing. And it shook me actually a bit to the core because, you know, life is this never ending journey, I really believe, of lifelong lessons. And just when you think you know it all, the universe says you really don't know it all. Um, and I thought, you know, that's it. I always had to abstain from these foods, but it showed me that there is a different way of being, there's a different way of thinking, there's perhaps a different way of living. Right, which I think is so
That's
fascinating and the
beautiful. That's
beauty
so
of
beautiful,
life.
Desiree. That's so beautiful.
And then I came up with it myself. I hope. I think
Stop it.
let's create a
Tagline.
bumper sticker. Let's create a bumper sticker.
I'll put it on my car. The only bumper sticker I will ever put on my car. No other ones. Not a bumper
Now,
sticker person, but that one I will for you.
now, what was interesting is the introduction of alcohol. Now, when I say alcohol, I don't mean, you know, everything under the sun and mixed drinks and all of this. But I was actually going, funnily enough, to a concert, a Pennywise concert, my favorite band. And I've been working with my healer for about a year. And I always knew, so my past with alcohol, I thought I was a 100% an addict. And what I realized, and I always said, you know, addiction is the result of unresolved emotional pain. And I had been working on myself with years to resolve that emotional pain that was underneath, that was driving me to drink. So what we then, or the conclusions that I came to was I don't think I was necessarily an addict where, you know, one drop of wine on my lips or something would cause me to have the biggest benders ever and not be able to stop until I was in rehab. But I was highly alcohol dependent
Yeah.
meaning I would wake up in the morning, within an hour or two, I was wanting my first drink because I was so stressed at work or whatever it is. And then I would use that to get me through the day, to get me through any type of emotions, because I was an emotional roller coaster. And that was my thing that I could rely on to help me get through life, so to speak, to make it more exciting, to make the pain go away. It was just that catalyst. Now, I only decided to introduce this because I believed truly in my core and from everything that I'd done that I'd worked on the majority of those unresolved emotional, I guess patterns and those things that I needed to work on. And I felt at a place where I'm in my life, I was quite balanced, happy, very consistent with my mindset and emotions. And I thought, okay, why not? Let's give it a go. So my first Pennywise concert, here we go, which was an amazing concert. It was the first concert that I've been to in so long. And I said, you know what, far out. I really want to have a drink when I go there. I want to have a drink, watch my favorite band, and see what happens. And this is after 12 years of not drinking.
Wow.
And
Wow,
so
wow, wow. That's huge.
it's huge.
Mentally, I
So,
can just imagine like what's happening in your brain. I can just imagine.
well, this is what happened. This is the interesting thing. So the food, was an interesting journey. But I
Yeah.
went to the concert. I had, I think it was only two drinks, right? Um, and it wasn't, it was just whiskey straight because that's what they had at the time, not mixed with Coke or anything like that. So, the little trade-offs. And it
And
was it
no
was
ice, of
great.
course, because the ice just dilutes the whiskey. You
Of
just got to have it
course it
straight. I
does.
mean,
Yes,
come on. Or you got to
I
have
like
those
your
proper
thinking. I
cubes.
like your thinking. And I watched my band and it was bloody amazing. It was so incredible. However, the next day I woke up and all the past trauma hit me like a bloody
Ooh.
semi-trailer. So it
Oh.
was complete freak out mode. Oh my God, you're an alcoholic again. You're going to slip back to it. How could you do this after 12 years? It was like you are the worst person. You've just ruined 12 years. Like just the most insane, toxic, self-sabotaging, traumatic thought patterns and behaviors that had just hit me like a steamroller. And
Oh,
my
mate.
husband was like, what? You had two drinks? You stopped. You drove home hours later. Like, I think you're okay. Um, and
Yeah, but
so,
that trauma, that
yeah.
talk, like even you when you were saying that talk, I was like, I got goosebumps all in my body because it's like anyone can relate to that self-sabotaging self-talk and being like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. I can't believe you did that. Why did you do that? You were doing so good. You were like, you had 12 years and now you wrecked it. You're starting at one now. You're going to go back being an alcoholic. All of this self-talk, my gosh, and you were probably just laying there still, and if everyone saw you, they'd be like, oh, look, she's happy, but inside it's like, brrrr.
Absolutely, 100% spot on. And it was interesting because then alcohol and introducing alcohol in moderation to find a balance for myself over the last 2 years it's never really about the alcohol, right? It's always about stuff underneath. So it has
What, really?
interesting,
No. Oh,
it's interestingly enough become a catalyst over the last 2 years for me to do all this additional work in terms of it's brought up so many more layers that I hadn't dealt with in the past, from my sickness, from the trauma, but even before that, when I was using it destructively, things that I hadn't even had time to process came flooding back like a steam train. But over the last 2 years, it has allowed me to work through those things one by one and to make peace with my journey over the years, from being highly alcohol dependent and ruining my body to being severely sick. It really has been a, a blessing and a catalyst. And I now can 100% over the last 2 years, I've come to a place where I am not, I can proudly say, like, I am not an addict. I know I am not. I'm not addicted to alcohol. I don't think that was the right term to use previously. I was highly, highly dependent on it daily, and it would affect and ruin my life in certain aspects. And it would always be in my bloodstream at some form. But now I 100% know I'm not an addict. I am not dependent on it at all. And now I use it in a form where it can be a joyous thing on occasions. I use it in terms of celebration. I really use it as an experience, or something to treasure. And what I mean by that is I only like red wine, really. So that's all I drink, like good quality organic red wine, and it will be with a nice meal, having a glass or two, and then that's it. And I might have it once one week. I might not have anything for 2 weeks. I might be at a social occasion and have 3 glasses, but wake up the next morning, feel fine, don't have any cravings, don't want a bar of it, carry on with my life. There's no thirst, there's no thought, there's no never-ending quenching for it anymore. And what it did, Mihaela, was it also showed me and made me come to a place where I have it really did help me. It sounds so funny because alcohol is a toxin, like, let's face it, it does affect the body. It is a toxin. And it made me come to a place where I know I can have something that is perhaps a little bit of a toxin, but drink it from a place of love, drink it from a place of enjoyment, and I'm not going to die afterwards. My body is strong. It can handle it. My liver can process it. Like, I have so much faith now in my liver, in my body, in my detoxing systems, that everything is working well to help my body come into balance and harmony after I either steer left too much or steer right too much. I really have faith that I, including myself, can bring myself back to a place where I'm balanced mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that could be through whatever healing that I do, whatever meditations, or the food that I might put in my body the next day, or that my body will naturally sort itself out if I just allow it to. Yeah.
Bam. Like, and I've got a question. I love what you just said. And that what you just shared is like so much belief, so much trust in the innate body's ability to heal itself, and so much love for it and trust. But the question that came to me, when you do now have that cheese, that wine, is there any affirmations that you do in your head before you have it? Is there anything that you say or think or do before you take it in?
I love that question, because absolutely there is.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so.
And I know, and I 100% clearly notice the difference, even in terms of limiting myself. So if I don't have any affirmations or anything like that, I might have a piece of cheese and just be like, fuck it, this tastes good. I'm going to have like 10 pieces of cheese. And then I'll feel like, I might feel a little bit iffy afterwards. Or even with the wine, if I have a glass of wine and I don't mentally prepare, or even just take a second to become conscious of how I want to approach this, I could have a glass, then I might have 2 glasses, and then I'll just feel tired and crap, and then, go down that rabbit hole and, be like, that's it, I'm abstaining for 50 years or whatever it is. But if I come at it as a place where I'm sitting down, I'm enjoying it, I take a breath, I'm conscious, and I look at that glass of organic wine as actually, what the gods used to drink, the Egyptian gods back in Roman times.
I am a goddess.
I am a goddess. And this, I look at it not as the...
Feed me grapes.
With my cheese and wine, feed me grapes. Where's my minions with my fan? What do they have? The leaf fan.
Yeah. Fan me.
And so I look at it and treasure it like this miraculous thing where I'm actually going to, because I'm going to stop at one, I'm going to enjoy the benefits actually of an organic red wine with a resveratrol and those particular aspects. And I'm enjoying it with a meal. So I go in thinking, this is actually, a pleasure for me. It's going to create good hormones in my body. I'm going to enjoy it. It's good for my soul. And I really treasure it as like a gospel medicinal glass. And then I'm so content afterwards.
I love that. I love that you put some thought into it, and you even mentioned you're conscious. I think that's absolutely key. And this is where, in culture, a lot of people pray before they eat. And I find that so useful because we are conscious. We go, we're about to have food come into our body, and when they pray, they are grateful. They look at the food, they're grateful for it, they're like thankful for it, it's going to do good for their body, and then they put it in their body. So it's kind of like little affirmations, and that's been done for like centuries, years and years and years and years. And it's like, well, how can we integrate this into our everyday life now and kind of like have our own little routine? If you're not religious and you don't want to pray, it's kind of like, all right, well, what can I do before I put this food in my mouth? It's like, I can be grateful, I can be thankful, and then what you said is be conscious and actually be like, my body is going to do exactly what it needs to do with this food in this time, and I trust in the process that it's going to do it. If it needs to remove it, to detox it, please do. If it needs to take it in, to take the minerals and vitamins out of it, please do. Like, imagine how different our breakfast, lunch, dinner routines, our stomach, our nutrient intake would be prior to us eating that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is 100%. And we've steered so far from all of these basic fundamental principles that our grandmothers and great grandmothers used to do automatically, that it's just led us down a very silly path that we have to kind of undo all of that and get back to basics.
Yeah, and
So
some
I'm
people even put their
100% with you.
hands over the meal like that. It's like
Like
our
an
energy.
energy
We're putting,
blessing. Yeah. Yeah.
energy blessing. Like, we are blessing the food with
Yes.
our energy, and we're putting our energy on it. And it's just like mind blowing. Like, when I go to a cafe or a restaurant or someone makes my coffee, I kind of like to know who's making, or get the vibe of the restaurant, or get the vibe of the person. Because if they're in a shitty mood, or if they're like depressed as, it's kind of like, ooh, that energy is going to go into that coffee. But then I can take that away and just bless it with my hands, and through that, and be like, this is exactly what I need in this moment. But like you said at the start, energy, we are all energy, and it's just crazy how much it impacts us, and we
Yeah.
kind of put it aside and we don't really think about it. But I think if anyone takes anything from this episode, it's kind of like, before you eat your food or drink your drink or do anything, it's kind of like, what do you want out of this? Like, how grateful and thankful are you, and what do you believe this food, drink, or activity may do for you?
And your thoughts and emotions really are, they're in the energy field, they're in the energetic field. They really create what physical symptoms go on in your body, and the physical way that you live your life. So think about, what do you want to create? Even just say to yourself, body, exactly what you said, body, you're going to process this, you're going to be fine afterwards. And it will, like, surprisingly, I mean, if you are healthy, obviously, and you don't have some catastrophic illness that you're trying to heal from, but think about
But even that's
what you want to.
questionable.
But
But anyway.
absolutely, absolutely, it is, because 100%, Mahela, yeah, because even you're thinking about what you want to create, and this is where I guess the energy healing and the energy medicine comes into it. Because from an energetic perspective, if you're thinking and perceiving that you are creating illness, or you are a victim stuck in your illness or disease, or I can't do this because I have this, or I can't be this because I'm this way, you will create that. You are putting it out there into the universe. Your body believes it, your cells believe it, it's coming into fruition because you're telling yourself this every single day. What you think, what you perceive, you will create. So really sitting down and being still and having that conviction to think, right, what do I want to create? Where do I want to take this? Do I want to be stuck in my victimhood of, staying and having this PTSD that haunts me for life, and I can never achieve balance in my life? I found it so unbelievingly, and I do now, unbelievably empowering, that I know nothing has a hold on me anymore. Alcohol doesn't have a hold on me. Food doesn't have a hold on me. I am the creator of my life. I get to choose and dictate and be in the driver's seat. And if I want ultimate balance, I can. And sure, there's times where I fuck up and I might, eat too much of this shit, or maybe 3 glasses of wine is too much for me to handle, or whatever it is. But it's all a journey. And I think as long as you focus on what you want to create, rather than being stuck in a diagnosis or victimhood or your circumstances in life, that's where the transformation happens. So you're spot on. Yes, it is questionable.
Yeah, wow. I love that. I love that you said that, oh, creator. But what I want to dig into deep now is this energy healing, and you've mentioned it. That's helped you get to this stage because, we all want to know, what is this energy healing? You've mentioned also Akashic records, energy
Yes.
healing. Like, tell us what's happened. Like, tell us
Okay.
how you got into it,
Yep.
what the process looks like, what you got out of it. Yeah, enlighten us, Desiree.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me now, my journey over the last 3 years, I have been working with beautiful energy healers who I go and see frequently. And whether it
Every
is,
day, no.
yeah,
Every
trust me,
day.
there's literally sometimes where I want to go
On
every
speed
day.
dial.
I'm like,
Help.
crisis.
That is so funny.
Oh my God. So look, to explain it
I love
quickly,
having those people on speed dial.
it's the best, right? Because you've got help, and we all need help to go through life. And it helps us.
Yes.
It helps us go through it a lot easier. And I think if I was going to shout anything from the rooftops, is you do not need to suffer. I mean, suffering
Alone.
you don't need to suffer alone. And suffering is sometimes it's inevitable. It's a opportunity for growth and change and a
Yes.
transition in your life. And there's lessons to be learned. But there's also things and people and modalities that can help you go through it and come out the other end even better. Now, energy healing, it's a little bit interesting to explain, so I'll try and summarize it as much as I can. But basically, it's all about channeling life force energy, which is the energy of the universe or the energy of our soul self, or really that the unseen circuits around us that can help our body heal and remove blockages, cleanse and recharge. And an easy way to kind of put this into perspective is, think about it this way. Sometimes when you're racing through your day, you've had 5 cups of coffee and you haven't had a chance to stop, and you've been going at 100 miles an hour, you can sit down and be still, and you can sometimes literally feel like an energy around you being jittery or unsteady or vibrating. Have you ever had that happen to you?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And then on the flip side, there are times where, so say you might feel like that, right? Or there's times where I definitely still feel like that. Then I might go down to the beach, I go for a walk, I do some deep breathing, I get my feet into the sand, and that energy dissolves. It physically
Yes.
has a feeling of being grounded, secure, solid, steady, right? So that's from a physical perspective with how you can feel it. And when you're in that place of grounded, secure, balanced, steady, calm energy, number one, it makes it easier to deal with the outside circumstances and what's happening around you. So maybe when there has been stressful situations, it might be easier for you to perceive or do something different or react in a better way to those situations. But two, it allows the body to naturally be in a place of rest, relaxation, harmony, to process whatever is going on physically within the body. Now, that's probably the best way that I can summarize it for someone who doesn't know too much about energy healing in terms of a real practical physical response. Now, in terms of energy healers, so the energy healers that I've gone to and seen, most of them, in my opinion, have they have a gift. I mean, they don't even lay a hand on me, but go through balancing my energy from my head to my toe, removing. They can feel certain blockages that are in my body. It might be stagnant energy in my stomach, for example. And by putting some white light energy or light and love, or even just the best intentions onto it, it helps shift that. And sometimes physically I feel better in my stomach, or they say your stomach is your power center too. So I might then come from a place of empowerment rather than, whereas before I was stuck in my victimhood. So it's difficult to describe. I hope I've
So what does a session look
summed it
like?
up. Yeah, so a session looks like you would go in, it's very similar to Reiki, right? Reiki is a form
Okay,
of
yeah.
energy healing. There's actually different forms.
Yeah.
So Reiki is a form of energy healing, emotional
Yeah.
freedom technique, EFT tapping too, where you're tapping on the different energy meridians, like acupuncture points of the
I
body.
actually had a friend come over the other day and she's learning how to tap and she's like, all right, Mahela, I'm going to practice on you. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And as soon as she started, I was like, dude, WTF, what are you doing? Like, I was like, this is going deep into my soul. Can we like stop right now? And she just read the one sentence. And I was like, nah, I'm out. No, we ended up doing the whole process. And I was just like, what did you just do to me? Like, what did you just do? Like, what just happened? Because I couldn't even move. I was just there, like, still as. And I was just like, I'm like, the way I described it is I was so still. My body was so still. But I know my emotions, my mind, my soul was rewriting things as I was so still. So it was like this jittering happening in my soul, but my body was so still, like the stillest it's been in like months. And I was just like, I've had tapping done before, but I had it done that like literally last week. And I was just like, wow,
Yeah.
what?
And that spot on. I do tapping actually with my son when he'll let me and he doesn't fight me.
It's so
But it's for
cute.
that reason. So if something happens at school or whatever it is, using this
You're that
as
mama. Tap, tap,
yeah,
tap, 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 tap. Come over here.
tap 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 tap.
That is so
Oh God.
funny.
Just because with it. It's
Oh,
actually really
I
cute.
love it. Soon he'll start tapping you.
Probably. He's like, calm down, mum. Tap, tap, tap. But you're right, Mihaela. And that's a perfect example of how there's the different energy healing modalities, whether it's Reiki, whether it's EFT, whether it's quantum energy healing, whatever it is. That's the type of physical effect that can happen. So you come from a place where you physically feel in stillness, you have an immense amount of peace and calmness and groundedness. You connect with your soul self ultimately. You just go into complete utter balance
Yeah.
where you feel you. You feel authentically you. And when you are coming at life from that place, you can manifest easily, you can create easily, you realize you are even not really your physical body anymore. Your little headaches or tension or this or that doesn't really phase you because you have this knowing you're so much more than that. It's magnificent, and each type of modality is very different. So tapping is great to use acupressure points to shift that energy quite quickly. And while you're doing it, so you're literally just tapping on the different energy points in the body and reframing your thoughts as you go along to make peace with the old, not so nice negative thoughts and transform to something a bit more positive and something you're happy with. And that gets rooted deep in the subconscious mind, which is freaking fascinating.
I love that.
Reiki and quantum healing, those modalities with a practitioner, it is them slowly moving over your body where they are literally feeling the different energy blockages in your body, or where energy might not be flowing as much, or where it might be stuck, and then really using their gift or calling on the universal, light and universal energy that we all have connection to help remove that and bring the body to a state of balance. So my number one piece of advice would be just try it, because I was so skeptical about all of this, like all of this. I thought it was all fucking hippie bullshit. Until and I'm like a massive science nerd, with astrophysics, and I love, chemistry and all of that. So I was desperately trying to rationalize all of this. But until I actually started doing it, and I've tried different things, acupuncture even is a form of energy healing.
Yes.
But you just,
Even massage.
even
Even massage. So
massage,
even massage
yes.
therapists that believe that they're not energy healers, they are energy healers. I've had massages
Absolutely.
where I've come out and I've just literally cried. Like cried and cried and cried, like burst out crying. I've had like massages where I've just felt absolutely amazing afterwards. Like massage therapists are energy healers. They just don't have the
Yeah.
title.
That's it, 100%. And you can even be an energy healer yourself. So I would even say when you sit in silence and you meditate and you bring yourself back to a place of stillness, I would even say try to start with some chakra balancing meditations. So, what the ancient Indian texts and Ayurvedic medicine uses, connect with your different chakra systems and your energy centers. And it's just a visualization process, because what
Yeah.
you perceive and believe and you think creates actual physical shifts in the body. So start there, if someone wants to explore, and then just dive deep. And it's
Yeah,
honestly
there's so
amazing.
much. It's so deep you can go into.
Yeah.
There's so many modalities that you've mentioned that you can go deep into. There's so many things that you can discover, and I love that this type of energy healing was able to shift this huge shift in you, so you're able to have this food, drink freedom. I did also want to mention you mentioned Akashic records.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so everyone's going to think I'm a complete weirdo now, but anyways,
No,
I
no.
don't
I
care.
mean, we already
I
thought
don't
that. We're just
care.
adding on to it. We're just confirming it. We're confirming your
Right, okay,
weirdness.
confirming my weirdness.
But do you know what? Can we just hold on to that point?
Yeah.
Can we just hold on? That is a huge thing. What you just said is a huge belief that we all have engraved in us, that something that is outside of the doctors, outside of the so-called norm, is weird. It is not weird. It is the stuff that we used to do. It is the norm, and then medicine came in, right? And then all of our beliefs changed. So all of these things are not weird. These are all innate in us, but the conditioning that we've had over the years and childhood made us believe that it's hippie, that it's weird, that it's not normal, that you need to be excluded because that's what they wanted to do. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this for ages. So
I
it
am
is not
applauding you.
weird.
Yes. Round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. You have absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because, yeah, there's still dialogues exactly like I'm a weirdo that I have to use today just because it's deep-seated belief that we all grew up kind of believing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the more you can be outside of the system, the more you can go back to basics and reconnect with your inner knowing. You said it.
Yes.
They created
Yes.
this whole system just to kind of have us trapped in our own misery and sickness. And make
And we'll
money
leave it at
off
that. No.
us. Censorship. Don't censor, don't censor. Oh my
I
God.
want to leave my podcast just for a few more episodes. I don't know. I am aiming for, maybe 1,000. But with you being on here, I don't know, it might get taken down tomorrow.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm joking.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I wouldn't put it past anything. I mean, anything could happen nowadays. So the Akashic records, this is, I wouldn't say being weird, but it's just a different avenue that I explored. And, okay, well, I'm not going to say weird, but this is a really interesting fact because have you watched the movie Interstellar?
Yes.
Okay, do you know the scene right at the end where Matthew, I can't pronounce the last name, McConaughey, goes back kind of into time and he's in the universal void. It's just blackness. And he
Yes.
actually says, I'm going into the Akashic records or something like that. And he goes into this scene where it's all these lines of light energy streaming down.
Wow.
And he's able to go in there and it embodies all of his life, past, present, future, 50,000 different scenarios. And he goes back to this moment in time where he needs to connect with his grown-up daughter or whatever it is.
Oh my gosh.
And I
I remember
do you remember that? Do you remember?
My mind just got blown.
Yeah. Well, my mind blew when I was watching it, and for some reason,
I'm going to YouTube that after this. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh.
my mind, like, at the time, I watched this movie, like, 15, 20 years ago or something like that?
Yeah.
And at the time, that scene just stuck with me. I'm like, that is so damn cool. Like, something resonated
I want to do
deeply.
that.
Yeah, deeply with me. I thought, wouldn't that be cool if that was something or whatever? Anyways, I didn't give any thought to it. And then fast forward to the start of this year, I was the Akashic records, or I'd spoken to different people over the course of maybe like 3 years, and it had popped up. So I had a lovely lady on my podcast who was an Akashic reader healer, and I've Didn't think anything of it at the time. It was interesting to know about. And then it popped up again. And then...
as it does when you need something.
As it
Oh,
does.
hello.
Yeah,
Pop up. I'll just
exactly.
ignore her. Here it is again.
Very much so. And then I reached a point in this journey where I'm like, for some reason I was just being called to it. I'm like, I really think I need to do this. I really, really think I need to do this. So I met with a beautiful healer who's an Akashic reading healer, and I started a couple of sessions with her. And, you know, again, it is such a simple method that sometimes it doesn't seem true, or it can seem we like to look into things too much. But I found it was able to give me such clarity on certain questions I had on why I do what I do, why this is the path for me, you know, what perhaps happened in my past life that I brought into this life, and if I want to create this in the future, you know, what is my purpose around this? It's insane. So look, to sum it up, I read something which really, because I was thinking, how do I explain this in a really clear way? And it's basically like the spiritual archive of the universe. So, you know, that scene again that I go to in Interstellar, which everyone has to look up. It really is like a spiritual archive of the universe. It's someone's entire present, past, and future, library of their soul, where any events, thoughts, emotions you will ever have are logged into this Akashic records. It's like an energetic library of your soul that you can tap into. Now, that being said, how it helps you, or how it has helped me.
Because I was going to say, it sounds very, to some people, very daunting, very overwhelming, very, I don't really want to go in there because what can I open? And what if I can't close it? And what if it brings up stuff that I can't deal with? And it's just overwhelming. It's just, all I get is this sense of just overwhelm. And it's just like, I'm just going to leave that.
Spot on. And I actually still sometimes feel like that to this day, Mahela, when I really want an answer to one of the questions that I have, but I don't want to know that answer, perhaps, or intuitively, if there's something that I'm really resisting, and I go into the records and I know I'm going to ask this question, but I don't want to, and I just want to hide in the corner and, you know, deny everything.
Let me alone.
You know, leave me alone. I don't want to learn anymore. I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to evolve anymore.
My soul has evolved.
My soul has evolved, you know. I'm done with this.
I always say, I don't want to finish evolving because that means I'll die. No. But anyway, that's a trauma response. But anyway, we won't go there.
But I find that any answers that come to you, yes, it can be confronting, but it is for your highest good. And it's all about you, your essence, your soul. So it can never be wrong. And I think really understanding that you're going into it, or reading the Akashic records from that place where you know it's in your highest good, you know that whatever the answer is, a path will be provided to you where eventually, even though the answer to your question might be not what you wanted to hear, might be hard, you will be better off for getting to that place. It's always in your highest good, and you just learn to trust it along the way. So I go into it and it really helps me with my direction. So in terms of, you know, a big thing has been these last couple of years, I've kind of put the brakes on my business with the nutritional aspect because it wasn't resonating for me. And having this overwhelming sensation to kick things off again and really just go in and you know, full-blown direction of where I want to take things.
Yes.
And so I go into it in this fear of what it's going to tell me, because I'm like, oh, yes, no. Do I want to know? Do I not want to know? And, you know, point blank found out what my purpose was, what I am supposed to do.
Wow.
And the interesting thing is it gave me so much comfort and reassurance, because I think intuitively, you know, at a soul level, and it is just reading your soul. You know. It's just, we're jaded by so much white noise that we don't want to tap into that. So it just reconfirmed. And also, so say, for example, I'll give you a real example. So I logged into the Akashic Records. You go into it by doing a pathway prayer. Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you get into it? Do you go into it by yourself or someone else?
Yeah, so I would encourage you, if you're starting off, work with someone who is an Akashic Records healer. And the reason is
Yes.
because it does take a lot of practice to get to a place where
Yes.
you can slip into it easily and trust what comes to you. Because so anyone can actually access it. Essentially, you're reading the blueprint of your life.
Yeah.
We just need to be able to be in a place where we practice it. We know what to hear or see or look for, or what comes to us, you have to trust. So for me, when I go into it, I do a pathway prayer. So there is different types of pathway prayers
Yeah.
where it's a bit of a grounding. You open up your crown chakra, so the chakra on top of your head, to connect with your higher self and the Akashic records, and to stream and download any information that needs to flow through you to provide whatever answers that you seek. So there's different prayers to go into that, but it's, again, it's one of those things, unless you do it yourself and you experience, it's really hard to believe, because it sounds so simple. You connect to your higher self, you picture basically doing an energy meditation of light source coming through your head down into your feet, but the feeling is automatically I feel so still, so grounded, so present, like I am getting downloads. And it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I don't know what else to say except it's ridiculous. And for me, when I do it, so if I ask myself a question, so, for example, I've asked, what is my purpose? What am I meant to do here on this planet? And it's an overwhelming, loud, shouting, voice. I mean, no one actually shouts at me like, Desiree, but it's this overwhelming voice saying, speaker, speaker, you must speak, you must teach, you must speak, you must teach. And it's just overwhelming.
Yes.
Some
Yes. And
people,
here you
though,
are speaking.
some people
Yes.
get visuals, so they might get visuals. Some people get feelings or sensations. They might feel tingling in their ears or hot something else, but being able to interpret that. So I started off working with a wonderful Akashic reading, beautiful intuitive lady who helped me on my journey. Then I did a course, and I'm still working on it as a craft, but I automatically find that I tap into it when I need guidance, when I need clarity, or when I need to understand something about myself too. Like my journey with alcohol over these last 2 years, when I asked myself some truths, like, why is this such a catalyst for me? Why is this my bloody life lesson to learn?
Yeah.
It would automatically come up intuitively, or that overwhelming screaming voice. It's not about the alcohol. It's not about the alcohol. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's just a catalyst. It's just a catalyst.
Yes. Wow.
So it's, yeah, I would absolutely recommend experimenting with it and giving it a try.
I love you sharing that story with us. And a lot of individuals who've had Akashic records done to them totally understand. Other individuals are like, "Ooh, I don't know." But you can jump onto your podcast. You said you interviewed someone, so they can jump onto your podcast and have a listen to the Akashic records healer and talk about it. So that would be great. And I'll put a link to your podcast in the show notes. But I did want to touch upon something. Like, I think it's really important to understand, to be vulnerable, to trust, to believe, to have faith in all of this, because if you believe it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If you go into these healing modalities and you think it's all BS, it is going to be BS. If you go in, because energy senses energy, so whoever's working with you as an energy healer, they're going to sense that you're not into this, so they won't be able to tap into you as much as they would. So if you kind of surrender and trust that exactly what's meant to happen during that session is exactly what is meant to happen and what you're meant to see and feel and hear, then you got nothing to lose, mate.
So well said, Mahal. You're absolutely spot on. You've got to go in there open, just open to receive what you need to receive, and open to just go with the flow and experience what you need to experience. You're absolutely spot on. And I always say, I've got so many resistant people in my life, or who I can't even talk to about this stuff because they just think, whatever. But bottom line, if you're going through something in your life, whether it's a highly stressful circumstances, whether it's a divorce, whether it's overcoming PTSD, whether it's a medical illness, whatever it is, or whether you just want to, see how much you can thrive in life and how much you can overcome those self-limiting beliefs or patterns, why not? What have you got to lose? Why
Literally,
not?
literally.
Unlike a drug or the medical system or whatever that serves somewhat a little purpose, it's not going to cause any harm. So why not?
And look what it's done to you. I mean, Desiree, you're such a good speaker. I mean, you're born to speak. Like, even talking to you and you talking today, like,
Can I
your
have you as
voice
my
is
coach?
just...
I think I need to employ you as my coach.
No, you are so powerful. Like, your voice, it just, the message just comes through clearly with stories. It comes through with words, but not only that, it actually comes through with feelings. So whenever I listen to you talk, I'm like, there's so much push with it, and so much, but like a healthy push, like the balance between the masculine and the feminine. It's an interdance, it's a flow of dance when you speak, and I think it's just beautiful, and people are able to resonate because you have stories, you have the history, but then you also have the knowledge, and you're connected. And when you're connected, whenever you speak, whatever comes out, it's perfect. So I think you're doing an absolutely amazing job, and all this healing stuff that you've done is just mind-blowing, and I can just see so much growth, and you've done so much already, but I can see so much growth and future and healing for you. But I need to applaud you for doing the actual actions to make it happen, because you got given all this and all this got placed onto your lap and you just went with it. Like, that takes trust and vulnerability and courage. So good on you, mate. Like, that's awesome.
Fuck's the hell, you're gonna make me
Cry.
This is going to be like my morning motivation. Take that last snippet and have it on like replay.
Yes, I love that. So can I have some tears now? Where are the tears? I want to see them. No.
Oh God, now I'm laughing too much. Tears of joy. No, seriously, thank you. And I think you raised a good point. Sometimes it's doing the work. Life throws you certain circumstances and curveball, and they are all opportunities to learn and grow and evolve. And I think if you're not so set in stone, like I really think my biggest lessons have been just when I think I've figured it out, I haven't. And to not be so egotistical or dogmatic that this is the only way, because that is the beauty of life. There's 50,000 different ways that resonate and work for many, many other people. Sure, there's some, foundations or blueprints in terms of, certain ways to eat and feel, etc. But it's just this never-ending, evolving door of opportunity to learn with whatever challenges. So if you are prepared to do the work and face the hard truths, because it is the harder path, right? It's the harder path rather than be stuck in whatever misery or dependency, etc. that you in, which I totally understand and respect as well, because it is hard to kind of step out there and challenge your beliefs.
It's a process.
It's a process. It's absolutely a journey and process. Yeah. Never an end game.
So there's how can people get in touch with you? Like, who do you work with? Like, how can they work with you? What does that look like?
Yeah, so for me at the moment, I'm really evolving my work and what it looks like, but watch this space because I'm actually redoing my website. So when that comes up, it will really take me on a new direction of motivational speaking, but also I'm going to have a heavy focus on mindset and creating resilience in your life, because I think that's my theme, my soul theme, my past purpose and evolution is how to overcome resilience and have a mindset that is bulletproof, where no matter what is thrown your way, whether it be just in your day-to-day job activities or whether it be in overcoming certain challenges in your life or whatever it is, having that resilience to get back up, overcome, create, evolve and grow and be better for it. That's my jam. That's what is coming. Love that. So connect with me on Instagram. Absolutely. Connect with me on Instagram. Connect with me on Facebook. I've also, I think in the show notes, you'll put my email address. Just email me directly if you want to do a 30-minute consult on, even me just helping you with some direction, or if you're feeling a bit stuck, or in terms of where you're at in your life.
I need your help. I'll book in. Motivate me.
Oh my goodness. But then, what are you talking about? You're amazing. Don't be silly.
Yes, yes, yes. We won't go there.
We won't go there. Hey, I'm having you on my podcast, so we will go there.
Oh,
You're gonna don't back out.
I think I'm busy.
I
I
think
think
I'm busy.
I don't know. There's some socks that need to be sorted. big drawer of socks.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
But
no,
yeah,
yeah,
and then
I'll put all the show notes down, all
awesome.
your
Yeah.
Instagram, your podcast, which you do an
Perfect. Yeah.
absolutely amazing job, and you know that's awesome. So yeah, is there anything else that you want to say before we close it off? Because we can sit here and talk for
I
hours.
know. I think we already
I
have,
hope the
haven't we?
audience
Yes.
got a message in regards to PTSD, how energy healing can help them, how Akashic records, energy healing like tapping, Reiki, and so forth, quantum physics, long meditations, 45-minute meditations can help you have freedom, you know, have freedom in your life with freedom from PTSD, freedom from food, drinks, our mind, and you sharing your story. Hopefully the audience is like, wow, I can do that too.
Absolutely. And I think if we were to just finish on anything or summarize anything, it's we're put on this planet for a very short, in hindsight, period of time, and you deserve to live authentically the way your soul is desiring. So be unapologetically you, and sometimes to be that and to feel free and to be able to execute all that your heart and soul desires. Um, you have to start the journey of going on a bit of a quest with how you look after yourself physically, spiritually, mentally. So the end result, though, in terms of how you feel, mentally you feel freer, emotionally you feel freer. Life is just brighter. Like, it's weird, actually. That's a weird effect of it. Is the days are clearer, life is brighter, the clouds. I know this sounds, cliche, but the sky is blue, the grass is greener, and you literally have a spring in your step. Not to say that there's no downtimes and challenging times; they will always be there. But to have the gift of being able to experience that good and effortless flow is the reason why we're here, I think.
Yeah, like I want to share it with everyone, and I love your passion for it. Thank you so much, Desiree, for jumping on and taking your time out of your precious day to share your story, to have a voice. And I want to thank you for being authentically yourself on the Natural podcast.
Thank you so much. It was such a gift to the world. Thank you, Mahela.
Thank you for joining us on Natural Podcast. And remember, you're pure love, capable of living life to its fullest expression. Content and information provided here is the opinion of Mahela Ragoose and is for information purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Ragoose does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. And in the circumstances shall the Natural Podcast, Mahela Ragoose, any guests or contributors to the Natural Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Ragoose be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting a doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Ragoose nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in educational content.